Hey brothers, how you doing? I hope you're well. Thank you for being here again at the call. This is just in case I don't make it there. Um, so during the week, I put out there a challenge for guys to ask their wives, communicate with their wives, and ask them how they can do better, how they can communicate better, and so on and so forth. I want to give a warning around this because men naturally go to polar opposites. What do I mean by that? Men, when it comes to communication, either don't communicate, and then there are complaints from our wives that we're a closed book, we're in our man's cave and we never communicate, or we go the opposite direction and we tell them absolutely everything. And like we had a discussion, some of us on the chat, sometimes too much information for our wife is actually wrong to give her, right? I gave an example of a client that I've worked with, that the wife was like, I don't want to know when you're masturbating. That is not good for our relationship. And so that's between you and God. That's not for me to know. Now, does that mean that each one of us can make the decision what we tell our wife, what we don't tell our wife? The answer is yes. The best relationships are the ones that we can sit down with our wife and say, hey, I want to know, do you want to know about this? Do you not want to know about this? And that she does the same thing. Like we've been talking about on the chat, right now, Meg and I know very clearly what we're going to tell each other and what we're not going to tell each other in this time. She doesn't want to worry me with certain things that are going on in the family or in the logistics day-to-day life, because I need to be very focused on what I'm doing protecting the family. And I'm not going to tell her everything that I go through and I know out there, because I don't want to scare her more than she needs to be aware of what's going on. At the same time, that also creates difficulties because we're going through things as individuals and not sharing it all together. But in a normal cycle of life, we really should be sharing as much as we can in the way that our wife can receive it best, right? So sometimes we really need to work on those communication skills, how to tell her, how to ask her, and how to receive from her. Remember, our nature is to hear from our wife and find a solution to her problem, even if she doesn't have a problem, whereas she very likely wants to be able to just offload and be heard. So we use words or sayings like, wow, thank you so much for telling me. You sound upset about that. Is that correct? You sound hurt about that. Is that correct? We ask, is that correct? Because we don't want to label it for her. No, I'm not upset. I'm blah, blah, blah. See, you don't understand me, blah, blah, blah. That's why we ask. What I'm seeing is that you're upset about that. Is that correct? Right? And then you get to learn what is correct and what is not correct. What we need to do or keep an eye on as men, when we come to our wives and we say, hey, I need some feedback, like this challenge I gave, I'd like some feedback, how am I doing? How could I communicate better with you, so on and so forth, is this doesn't mean that we become a servant to our wife. We're asking her not so that we're a nothing and she can tell us what to do all day and night, but so that we can connect with her in a better way, so that we can be a better husband, so that she feels a part of our journey and a part of our life, and so that she feels that she is supported by us and heard by us. If we listen to her feedback, hey Meg, how can I do better in communication? And she turns around and she's like, well, you don't do this right, and you don't do that right, don't do this right, don't do that right. Our nature is to fight back and go, but in that circumstance, you were angry at me and therefore I reacted to you, so on and so forth. Don't do that. Listen. Say things like, wow, thanks for telling that to me. Oh, okay, I didn't know that you perceived it that way. I thought that was how it was. In other words, don't react and defend yourself. Listen to what she has to say. Can you tell me more about that? I want to understand why you felt that way. Okay? Let me know if you you ever feel that way again, because I don't want you to feel sad. I don't want you to feel frustrated, right? But don't attack back. Don't defend. At the same time, if it's the right time and the right environment, which is up to you to work out and ask, you can say, okay, I've listened to you and I really take that on, that you were frustrated that you felt I wasn't supporting you. Do you think you're in a space that you could hear why I reacted in that way? She then can say yes or no, right? But you get to ask her, hey, do you think you're in a space for me to give you more information from my side, to share my side? What's really important, man, is that when we hear and we create an environment that we're able to hear feedback from our wife, that we actually hear it. That it's not just ticking a box. Hey, Nathan told me to ask you these questions. Say, and then we can get on with life. Listen, you might actually learn something about yourself. You might actually grow in your relationship by hearing this feedback from your wife. You may actually hear something about yourself that's very difficult to hear, but so important for you to be a better husband and a better man, and maybe a better father, and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit of feedback for this. I hope to make it. I've got a very late, difficult shift tonight, so we'll see what happens. God bless you all.